Hey, today on Doc's Boost we're going to do a line lock system. It's a must mod for any Mustang that you're driving. You gotta have a line lock on there. You just gotta. Before we talk about fitness and what's in the kit, make sure that you subscribe and click the like button, as well as follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Doc's Boost. As I take the rest of the things out of the box, I just want you to know that this installation process will fit any ABS equipped Mustang. It's suggested to get some Teflon tape. The kit includes the solenoid, includes a couple of brake lines, and a wiring kit with an inline diode. That inline diode is important for your ABS system to function properly when deploying or using your line lock system. We're going to do a line lock with the new bare brake system. I just don't want to wear out the rotors and the brake pads back there by busting them loose while holding my foot on the brake pedal anymore. So line lock is coming today. We're going to do that. I got Pig's Pony out of the garage already. All I need to do is pull my car in there and get started on this.
Gotta keep the junk out of the way. When are you gonna start putting some money in my car?
Next year, it's all you. Alright, so now all we got to do is get the car up on jack stands and get the wheels off and get started on the line lock. In order to do this job, you have to have a clear shot to all the brake lines. And in order to do that, you have to get the air intake out of the way, complete, from radiator support all the way to the throttle body. 5/16 nut driver and a pair of pliers to disconnect cable management to the housing is all you need to get that job done. This is going to mount onto the frame down there. One hose is going to come off the master cylinder and go down to that. The other brake line will then attach down here and go to the ABS. String it up from there to here, meet down there. Solenoid goes in the middle with this orientation, the brass side towards the front of the car, and that's our goal. That's what we're going to do. And again, we're using flare nut crow feet, 15 millimeter. To get that out of there. And this one is that one. For the same line. And that would be 15 millimeter for that one. Now that both sides of the brake line are disconnected, I need to wiggle that original line out of place. I got to twist it, turn it, guide it, and wiggle it out from where it is. It's a pretty tight fit in a few places, a couple of tight corners to maneuver, and in order for me to do that successfully and with relative ease, I got to remove this panel off of the top of the radiator support. Won't take me long to get it out of there, but it is absolutely necessary so I can wiggle that original brake line out of place and then guide the replacement line in place. This is going to be a puzzle. Twists and turns and curves and wrap it around the block, and holy cow, how do I get it in there? And once I get it in there, how am I supposed to get it started and tighten it? Man. Alright, well, it's working out. Hey, I think I got it started. So there's a brake. Yep, it's threaded. We're good. and get it started to the solenoid on both ends. Make sure that you don't bolt the solenoid in place before you do this task. Make sure you don't tighten any of the flare nuts, any of the connections, until you have all the connections finger tight and snugged, you know. And then after that, you would bolt the solenoid to the frame and then go around and snug up, but don't over tighten all the connections. Make sure there's no leaks to get ready for bleeding in another step. Here, 1/2" wrench over there, 9/16 wrench on that, and I used a flare nut wrench so I wouldn't damage that soft brass fitting during the installation process. So we have that, just a turn snug, snug, and snug over there. And we're gonna poke a hole right there and use a self-tapping bolt that came with the kit. We're gonna bend that tab down, but there's no way that we can fasten that to the body because I can't get down there and drill a hole or use a self-tapper, that's for sure. So we're gonna fasten it with one. That's all we can do. I used one of those black wires on the solenoid for ground. I used the other black wire for power, ran it through some cable management, and tied it to the existing harness. From there, I was able to push through the firewall using existing grommet, which made the passing through the firewall a very clean and neat operation. Now to get under the dashboard and do the wiring from there. That'll be fun, right? Contortionist. And I gotta have both hands in order to do this job. So there's the switch and there's the harness. What I've already done is I rotated the switch 1/8 turn clockwise to remove it, being careful not to move the brake pedal, disconnected the harness, and then put the switch back in place. Working with the harness, I got to locate that violet white wire and then expose as much of it as I can and use a Scotch lock connector and tap the inline diode wire to that violet and white wire. Alright, there it is. That's the one we're after. Now that it's exposed, the next thing I got to do is twist myself around in position so I got both hands to work with as I get a snap lock connector up there and tie the diode lead into that violet white wire coming off of the brake switch. Once that gets done, we can move on and start tucking the wires away. And this is what it's going to look like once we finish that job of connecting the wire. As you can see, we got the violet white wire and the Scotch lock up there, and it's connected to the diode lead, and the red wire leaves the diode as we get under the dash. The next thing I'm going to do is just start tying up the wires to the existing harness to make a nice neat package on towards the console, which is where we power up the arming switch, which powers up the line lock solenoid and also applies power to the brake pedal switch so the ABS system will work properly. Now that I'm done under the dash, we're getting real close. All I need now is to put the switch right there. Perfect place for it. Won't get in the way of using the handbrake. Definitely out of the way when shifting. I just need to dig into the console, find a 12-volt source, and tie it all together. And we'll be done. Before we go inside of the car and start wiring things up, I want to go over some key items here. Number one, as I mentioned before, if your solenoid has two black wires, either one can be positive or negative. No problem there. And if you don't know what a diode does, a diode only allows voltage in one direction. So coming from the switch, no voltage is allowed to flow. Only when there's 12 volts applied to the red wire side of the diode will it flow to the switch, and that helps the ABS function normally when you're using your line lock. The red wire of the inline diode needs to attach to the arming switch regardless of the color on the other side of the diode. the solenoid and the diode wire get tied together on the arming switch. Then the other side of the switch just gets tied through the fuse to a 12-volt source. Let's get inside and get this thing done. Now that I've located a 12-volt source, let's just tie it all together. All right, so we got the wiring done. We got it tapped into the harness right here. That's 12 volts. Inline fuse, 12 volts. That's all tied together. We got the line coming in from the solenoid and from the brake pedal tied together. We got the power that's fused. That'll go into the switch right here. Wires coming in, neatly tucked away, tied up. We now should have light. And we do. So I got the button in, prongs there, as you can see. And the button there, right on the side, so and it won't interfere with the emergency brake. And I just slide it on and off. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and start popping all the wires back in and put the console back together. There we go. So it's all wired in. Well, we're gonna bleed the brakes, and there's no real signs about bleeding the brakes. You know how to bleed the brakes. So start at the farthest corner, work your way around the car. No air, we're done. Like it holds, line lock works. So let's go ahead and close this video out. Hey, if you haven't subscribed to Doc's Boost, go ahead and do that right now. Make some comments down below about some of the mods and upgrades you've done, trials and tribulations. I know they don't always go the way they are planned. So we've got it all done now, and the line lock works, and we're good to go. So hey, we'll see you in the next video. Hey, and shop for some merch. Click on that Amazon link in the comment section down below, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a great weekend, and talk to you soon.